Welcome to B Plus Overland, where we share with you all of the upgrades and changes we've made to our B Plus RV for full-time off-grid living and a trip down the Pan American Highway from Alaska to Argentina. Ours is a 2021 LTV Wonder rear twin bed. That's the B Plus in the back, and it's built upon a 2020 Ford Transit 350 HD cutaway van with rear dually wheels. Come check it out. I'm going to share with you why we added a hydraulic leveling system to our overlanding vehicle, how we use it day to day, and some surprising utility we get out of it that you wouldn't expect. So why a leveling system in the first place? Comfort. As a very experienced overlander who had done many continents told me, there are absolutely no medals given out in overlanding for being uncomfortable. And I'm with him on that. So we like it when we get to camp. It's one of the first things we do is we level the van. It's more comfortable to move around. It's more comfortable sleeping, frying an egg. You know, your food doesn't slide to one side. It's just better. And we have an absorption fridge, which is stock in our LTV. And absorption fridges, they're so beautiful in their simplicity, but the one thing that they demand is they have to stay level all the time when they're turned on. If they get past 3 degrees or so, they can overheat and permanently be damaged. So we're really careful to make sure we're on level, and if for some reason we're not for 5 or 10 minutes or more, we'll turn the fridge off. So why a hydraulic leveling system with 4 independent hydraulic rams? Well, 3 reasons. Number one, it is easy. Hit a button on the panel or on my phone and I can get level very quickly. Number two, I'm not having to get out ramps and blocks and drive up and then drive down and reset them and then try it again and check the level. Again, it gets back to not only is it easy, it's fast. And because I can control it at a micro level, it's always completely level when I'm done. And then the last thing is we've been able to camp in some pretty atrocious slants and angles and with rocks and all kinds of stuff because we have the rubber pads that I'm going to show you, and we can shim the system, and we can be on angles that you just without it you couldn't get level. So it gives us a lot of utility. So while the leveling system is a complete system and should be able to level your van in most situations, we've had to augment it with these rubber pads. They're 1 foot by 1 foot, and we do it for 3 reasons, and I'll have to back up to explain the first reason. With our van, we added a lift kit to raise the body. We've added larger all-terrain tires, which raised it, and some other things which raised the body. And so now the body's another 4 inches off the ground. And when they installed the the leveling system, they anticipated people would be driving down the road and get to a nice campsite and level it, but they didn't really anticipate people going off-road with these. So, when they installed them, they were pretty close to the ground. For us, we didn't want them hanging down there, so they use a universal plate-on-plate to attach these 4 jacks to the frame. I was able to unbolt those, slide that plate up and rebolt it and get them even higher off the ground. So with all that put together, now the jacks their starting place is way up high. So we have to compensate from that and put a couple of these down before we use it so that they make good contact and can extend far enough and raise the van far enough to get it level. Number 2, sometimes we are parked on a surface that is really just on a great slope, or it's super rocky, and there's a kind of a low part there and a high place there, and there's just kind of extremes. So we really need to be able to stack it. I'll include a picture when we were on a switchback up in Montana, on a logging road, and it was upslope this way,
and we had no pads on that side, and we had all the pads on this side, and it allowed us to actually level it out. And the stair was really up high. It was a big first step, but it was safe because everything was in 90 degrees. And that's the thing to remember. What you don't want to do is partially level a van or a vehicle such that you're not at 90 degrees to the horizon. If you do that, all of a sudden, if you're like at an angle, you'll create a shear load, and that can actually cause the system to bend. You've got to get it to 90 degrees to the horizon. And as long as you do that, you can do all kinds of weird stacking of these pads and whatever it takes to get to 90 degrees to horizon or to the gravity plane. And then the last thing is we like to be isolated electrically. Just for a little extra safety. So even if I don't need pads, like in some instances, it's just a little tiny bit of leveling that we need, and the jacks will extend far enough to take care of that without the pads, but I'll still put at least one pad under each metal jack, and that keeps our grounded frame from touching ground, and it keeps us isolated, and just a little safety factor there. So I did want to share with you where these came from, these 1-foot rubber pads. When I determined that I needed that kind of utility, I needed that many and about that thickness, so I could kind of fine tune it, I was really struggling to find anything. Most things were like these plastic bricks that you would stack, or people were like, oh, take a bunch of 6x6 pieces of wood and cut them up, and it just wasn't what I needed. And the few times that I found some rubber ones, you know, they came like 4 or 6 in a pack, and they were really expensive. I'm like, there's got to be another way. So somebody in some forum mentioned, hey, go to a farm supply store like a Southern States and get the rubber pads, the big pads that they put in horse stables on concrete floors to protect the horses. I'm like, that is perfect. So I got 2 sheets of that. I laid them out on a picnic table, Sharpied 1-foot squares and straight edged them, and I ended up with all my pads for a fraction of the cost, and I've never had one fall apart or be damaged, and boy, they've gotten abused. So anyways, easy way to create your own pads. So getting into how we level when we arrive, like here we've just arrived. You know, we got to the flattest point that we could where we are, but we can tell the back end's low and the driver's side is a little bit high, but how high and how much do we have to compensate? So I know I'm gonna have to put pads down, I always do, but do I need to put more in one area, which is usually the case in the lower areas? So I get my little level out here. I can see with the bubble, looks like we're about 3 degrees off, and 3 degrees on, about 4 degrees from side to side, and about 3 degrees from fore to aft. So this side's low and the back end is low. So I've got to do my little math with experience. I've kind of gotten the feel for this. So for 3 degrees, to compensate from left to right side of the vehicle, I need to take 3 pads on the low side and put 3 back there and 3 back there. And then I've got about 4 degrees fore and aft. So for that, I need to put none up front, which is the high part, and I need to put 4 in each of the corners in the back. So, and then in the far corner, I'm going to put 1 just to isolate the metal from the ground. So I've got 3 and 4, so I'll put 7 there. I've got 4 in that corner, 3 in that corner, and 1 in that corner. And I'm going to run around and do that, and then I'm going to start the hydraulic leveling. Okay, so it took me a minute or two to run around and put the pads in place in all 4 corners, and I'll show you what that looks like. So in the front, this is the downhill side from left to right. I've got 3, and that is the uphill side from left to right in the front. And I just have the one pad just to isolate the metal from the ground. And then going to the back, just remember you can't really put too many of these. It's just a matter of not putting enough, and the jack can't come out far enough and lift the body high enough. So here I put 7 or 8, and so it's kind of a double stack, because this is the low corner from front to back. It is also the low corner from left to right. So it's a stack to correct both of those, and that's why it's so high. On the other side, I'm not correcting from left to right, so I didn't add any for that. But what I am correcting for is that the back is lower than the front, so I've only got 3 in that corner. Now I'm ready to do the leveling. Okay, ours is a self-leveling system, and the concept is when you're ready to level, you turn the system on and you hit one button, and it senses how out of level you are, and it begins to put the legs down in pairs, first the front, then the back, and then it'll do the one side that is low, and the coach kind of goes back and forth, and then all of a sudden it stops a half a minute later, and it beeps and it says, hey, you're level. We always had to put the manual adjustment in at the end. So my system is I just let it do the first part, and let me show you the control panel and I'll run through how we do that. So this is our control panel, and our power buttons right here. This is the auto leveler, and if I hit that, it would do it its best to level the coach like I just explained. And then when we're done, say tomorrow, if we're going to take off tomorrow morning and we're ready, I would power this up and hit the all retract, and all 4 of them would pull up. So the way these work is, so you've got 4 jacks: driver's front, passenger front, driver's rear, passenger rear. But these control pairs. So this one down here controls the rear ones. So if I hit the down arrow, it'll push both of them down in the back and raise the back. If I push the up button, it'll retract the back ones and the back end will drop. Same for the front. If I do the down arrow, the jacks, both front ones, will go down and lift the front, and if I retract them, they'll go back into their cylinders and the front will drop. Same here. If I want to raise the right side that I'm on, I put them down and it'll raise this side, or I can lower the side if it's up too high. Same thing over here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to let the auto system do the initial set. So I've hit the button, and the system is starting by making contact, and it's going to do that with the front ones first. And it's not really going to begin the leveling process. It's just going to reach contact points on all 4 of these. So you can see this side's going to touch before the other side, but it'll keep going until it feels pressure on both of these, and it'll raise the coach just a little and stop. Boom. And now we're going to go to the back, and you can see the one on the passenger side right here closest to us is going to make contact first, and the other one's going to have to come down farther. Now I'm going to go forward because this is when I want to stop the auto process. Okay, now it's made contact in the front and in the rear, and I don't really trust the system anymore. So what I want to do is, I am out of level. The front is too high, so I need to raise the back. So I'm going to lower both back jacks, and they're going down, and you can see the bubble is now starting to move, and we're getting closer to level. And I'm happy when I get the bubble right there. It doesn't have to be exact. And then you can see now that the bubble is on the driver's side, and I need to put, on my side, the passenger side, I need to put these down and raise this side so that the bubble comes to me. Okay, It's pretty much in the middle, fore and aft. I guess I could put the back down a little bit more if I wanted to raise it. Boom. So what we just heard there was the sound of, hey, the jack is maxed out. It's out as far as it can go. And if you want to raise the back end anymore, you have to put some more pads down. So that was a successful level. You can see that our stair is quite a bit higher. Our back tires are off the ground, and all the other tires in this case are on the ground. The passenger front one is just barely touching. Again, the key is the coach is level to the horizon, the gravity plane, and that these arms here, the hydraulic arms, are at 90 degrees to horizon, and that way they're completely stable and they are directly supporting the frame. If this was at an angle, they're not built for that, and you can cause damage. And you just always want to make sure that the chassis is level to the horizon. So there are some surprising utilities you get with a system like this that have nothing to do with leveling the van. Number one, if you get a flat tire, you don't need a jack, and we don't carry one. We can literally just put pads down and raise whatever side we need to. If you're going to get major work done, we blew up our rear locking differential in Guatemala. And when we got to the garage, we were able to just raise they didn't even use a jack. We raised it for them so they could get underneath it. Of course, they blocked it once it was up just for safety. But in Panama City 3 weeks ago, we had all the wheels rotated and balanced, so we basically took it to a place, and because of our height, we couldn't get in the garage. No big deal. We just found a flat spot. We raised all 4 wheels off the ground by a couple of inches, and the guys just went around and took all 6 wheels off, and it just hung there until they were done balancing and remounting the tires. The other thing is, if you get stuck, which we have, we've been fortunate that the Max Tracks have gotten us out in each instance, but if you're really stuck and you've got to get some traction, some boards, whether Max Tracks or whether some lumber or some rocks or something under your tires because you're down to the axle, well, if you can dig out where your hydraulic jacks are and put something underneath of them so they don't sink in the mud, you can lift the sunken side or the whole vehicle such that you can get things under the tires and get out of a bad situation. So when you're way out in the middle of nowhere and we don't carry a winch, it is a great utility to have in your back pocket, but luckily we haven't had to use them for that yet. So what are the takeaways from this? Are we happy with it after a year and a half on the road? Yeah, we're really happy with it. It's something that didn't come stock. We had to have it installed by a third party after we purchased the rig, and we're really satisfied. For sauteing vegetables tonight on the stove, I'm not going to be trying to fight the oil sliding down the pan to the one side. It's just going to sit in the middle like you're at home. And when I'm sleeping tonight in the bed, I'm not going to have a favored side because my body just wants to kind of fall over because we're not level. So I really enjoy that from a lifestyle standpoint. The extra utility is a great thing. It's a great peace of mind. So yeah, we're super happy, and we think it was a really worthwhile investment that we continue to enjoy.